Hello and welcome to Leaders Who Last, our interview series where we talk to real leaders about real burnout that is happening in the hellscape that is 2025. I am Elena Joy. My pronouns are she, her, and I am your host today. I am the CEO of Latitude, where we help organizations build sustainable leadership pipelines with inclusive leadership skills. It's kind of a game changer and it's kind of awesome. So if you're looking for that kind of help, please get in those DMs. I am so excited to be joined today by one of my very dear friends. And I need to give the caveat right now. Heather is a very dear friend. And we don't have our backstage producer, Gracie, with us today. We might go off the rails. It's very possible. That might
Don't
happen.
stop us.
So just giving everyone the warning, I'm going to try to keep my language professional, appropriate. We'll see what happens. We are live on LinkedIn, so anything could happen. Heather is this, like I said, dear friend of mine, but I will give you the real scoop. Heather owns this incredible salon in my area, doing very, very, very well. Very successful on paper, everything is amazing, and yet Heather was burning out big time. And she was able to find an incredible solution to that and then realized, okay, other salon owners need this solution. Okay, every creative business owner needs this solution because it's unconventional. It's not your typical traditional corporate America, KPIs and all that stuff. It is how can we create actual systemic support, which y'all know is one of the capacities that we study here at Latitude. Okay. Heather, welcome. I am so glad you're here.
Thank you so much. I love being here with you. I have
It's
no
gonna be
promises
so
that we won't go off the rails. I won't even pretend to try.
okay, pretend. That is our exact way we're talking into this conversation. At Latitude, we've really been studying some of the root causes of burnout. And one of the big things that we're coming across is this idea of performance. I like to say, if you can show me where you're performing the most in your life instead of actually authentically being, but performing, whether that's at work, in your personal life, in your religious life, wherever you're performing the most is probably where you are going to burn out the fastest. And sometimes that performing is because of an identity, right? We're masking something. Or sometimes that performing is I'm trying to be someone I'm not because it's aspirational and I'm trying to get there, but I'm not radically acknowledging reality. You know, that's one of Latitude's other tenets. We got to radically acknowledge our reality if we're going to make any progress in our reality. Another way I have found, and Heather is someone who really helped clue me into this, another way that we can be leading to burnout because of performance or pretending is when we're not conscious of the fact that we're ready to hit that next level. And possibly all we need is the additional systemic support to hit that next level. Because if we keep trying to hold ourselves back because we don't find ourselves capable or worthy or we're an imposter or whatever buzzword you want, that is also going to lead to burnout. Okay, what do you think, Heather?
I agree with that. I want to add something else. And it's really, what if we don't even know where to find that help? What if we don't even, like, I know I'm burned out. I have no idea what to do about it. I don't see a clear path to getting support or
Because when you're
resources.
in the weeds, you can't see, right? Like you
Yeah,
can't
there's no weeds.
strategize.
It's the water drowning, juggling 40 things. So, like, when you're there, you don't know where the lifeboat is, right? So, that's one
Mhm.
of the other reasons beyond the imposter syndrome or not viewing ourselves maybe as worthy or having access to it's really like, how do I even find it? What does it look like?
And how did you know? So I know you were hitting a wall. Like salons, I know have an incredibly slim profit margin. And if y'all
Yeah.
don't know, like it's like single digit profit
Mhm.
margin. Okay. So like the amount of work that it takes to turn that profit is massive. How did you know you were at that point where it was time? I've got to look outside myself and find some help, or I'm going to be in the pit.
Like so many people, I have had really beautiful humans in my life that will stop and say, "Hey, it looks like you're drowning. I know this person who might be able to help." There's people who've been courageous enough and loving enough to put themselves out there and suggest that I get help. And in this case, I did have a business coach that I was working with, and it was a really powerful tool for me to start to understand how to put processes and systems into place, which isn't really native for a lot of creatives. And I started doing that. So we are working with KPIs and I am looking at all of my numbers, but it was so much work to do that. and still be a stylist and still lead my team and do education. So I was juggling a lot and also wearing too many hats, and I wasn't wearing any of them very well. And I had a friend reach out who's in a business space, and he said, "You need an assistant." And I'm like, "Well, I have an assistant at the salon." He's like, "No, no, you need a virtual assistant who can help you run all of your admin and your overwhelm and your back end office work." And I was like, so this is how I thought as a creative. I do hair, I work with clients, and then I travel the country teaching classes and consulting. So I'm working with humans the whole time. There's not a lot going on online. So that's a cute idea and it works for other people and other industries, but I don't think it applies to what my work is. And I honestly did, like, I disregarded his advice for about a year. And he kept saying, "You've got to try it." And finally, I sat down with him and I said, truly being so tactile, visual, and in person, I was like, "Can I come sit in your office and see how you use a virtual assistant?" Which I understand is very ironic because it's virtual. So he showed me, like, here's the workflow I give her, here's the tasks she accomplishes, here's how we communicate. And I was like, "Oh, well, maybe she can help me with my social media because that is done online." I started with very small projects and tasks for my assistant. I wound up hiring somebody through a service and just started training her. And there was no playbook for someone like me as a salon owner. I know a lot of people in C-level and executive positions are using virtual assistants. So I started using her for social media. And then, "Hey, could you maybe respond to those Google reviews?" And then started having her do a few more things. And pretty soon she was managing my calendar, responding to booking inquiries, handling my children's schedules, making sure that I got lunch delivered during my break when it was scheduled on my software. I mean, so I started it with very, very small, narrow scope of work and expanded to having her do everything besides brush my teeth and walk my dog and put my own kids to bed. So that's what I tell people. Like, yeah, it's all smoke and mirrors. My assistant's done all of it. I did brush my own teeth this morning, though.
Congratulations, gold
Thank
medal
you.
for you.
Send the Nobel Prize to my doorstep.
Tell me, from when you started using help to maybe a year later, what was the difference in your burnout risk? What did it feel like?
Okay. I can't even quantify how significant it was. And that sounds really cheesy, but I'm telling you the difference. I felt like I was drowning. And this is, I am prone to anxiety and panic, and I'm okay with talking about that. And I was waking up at 3 in the morning or 4 in the morning with a start. Did I remember to respond to that booking inquiry? Did I tell that stylist that their guest called in sick after the front desk was closed and I checked the voicemail? I mean, little things like that, but it was popping into my head all the time. And the way I like to tell people, it feels like there are 1,000 tabs on the computer screen of my brain that are open at one time. And that was
Yeah.
making my computer run really slow. And so
And
there was
hot.
oh yeah, it's running hot and slow, very, very glitchy, and all the tabs were open. And so there was like a
Mm.
constant checking back and forth between if things were closed out and done. And then when I would go to bed at night, I would honestly, almost every night, I would like exhausted, no problem falling to sleep. I'd lay down and then I'd jolt out of bed within like 30 seconds of about to fall asleep and be like, I got to fire off that email really quick. I need to make sure I send that text. I mean, that was happening consistently when I hired my assistant. And then a year later, and this sounds too good to be true, but I was walking my dog, maybe attending some of my children's events because my assistant was checking my calendar and my emails and blocking out time for me to be live and living my own, my own life in real life. Um, I was able to sleep better. I knew so many things that had been falling through the cracks were being handled. I knew all the things that were left on the table in my business that I knew I needed to be doing. And I did sometimes were now being done consistently. And it enabled me to build more robust systems to support and more intense operations. I'd already been working on that end of things for my business, which was a start to being able to use my assistant so productively. But I was able to take that all to the next level. And frankly, it enabled me to start an entirely new business and work. It changed my entire life, changed exactly what I'm doing for work too, just because I was so excited to help other people in the same way.
And because you had that capacity, you finally had the capacity to really expand your potential and what you had in your next level. And we're going to launch into what this new business is because it's so impactful. But I want to really make clear and drive home for our audience, you might not be a creative CEO, right? You might not own a salon. However, I can't tell you the amount of women leaders and executives that I speak to that say the same thing to me over and over again. I wish I had a wife at home. I wish I had someone who would make those calls and send those emails and keep track of my kids' schedules, right? Like the men that I am competing against for that promotion, they do have a wife at home and they do have someone who's handling that stuff. And to me, if you are someone who's in corporate America who's watching this and you're like, how is this pertaining to me? If you want to hit that next level, hire yourself a wife at home.
Right. Right.
Which, I mean, a VA.
Right. And I proposed to mine. We are engaged. I told her, this is no joke. And this is probably a very poorly timed joke since I am in the process of an amicable divorce, but that's real life too. It gave me the bandwidth to get divorced. No, not really. Look, get yourself an assistant, upend your whole life. But actually, I would tell her, I said, everybody in my life can leave me. You can't leave me. Like, I can't live without you. You are invaluable. And I have a hard time with that language of get yourself a wife at home because it is sexist language, right?
There you go.
And
Thank you for calling me on it. I appreciate it.
No, and I'm not calling you on it as much as saying a partner. Like, let's get ourselves a partner at home. And I live alone with my children, and I have a partner in my success and in the relief for my burnout. And that's massive.
Yeah. Yeah, we need it. We need it. And we don't have to limit ourselves to this really heteronormative view of a partner needs to be the opposite gender living with us in a committed relationship. We actually can create systemic support around us when we reclaim our power through acknowledging the reality of where we're at and what we're experiencing. So let's talk about the systemic support that you realized you could create for other people. What happened?
Very organically, as I traveled the country teaching other salons, and the types of salons that could contract me and have me out are higher end salons, high performing salons, most of them doing around 7 figures a year in revenue. Not all, but most. So I'm in these salon spaces that are being run very well, like you mentioned, high volume, still mid, low margins. And most of these owners were behind the chair doing hair, leading their teams, and all of the things, running payroll, etc. And I would start saying, you've got to hire my girl. You've got to call my girl. She can help you, because I wasn't using her full time yet. And even then, I was not even using her to the max of her capacity because I didn't know what that was. And so I started telling everybody to call her. And within a few weeks, she said, I can't see more people. I can't help more of your friends. And I said, do you have friends? Can we train them? And she said, yes, because she was in the industry. And my assistant's in the Philippines, and she had worked with other people in call centers and other capacities like that. And I said, all right, let's create a training program. So I took where I was at with my burnout and what my needs were in my business. And I realized there was a huge gap for all the people like me, not just stylists, but yes, I'm dealing with stylists mostly at this point a year ago. And I was like, here's where you're at. You're drowning. You have no idea how to train an assistant. Nobody who's busy enough to need an assistant has time to train an assistant. Newsflash, everybody. Everybody's like, I don't have time to train her. And I'm like, no crap, neither do I. And so, I don't have time to train her. And then the other thing, my favorite, like, people lean in and whisper it like it's a confession that they can't tell anybody but their priest, and I'm a control freak. And I'm like, also, anyone who's high achieving, who's getting anything accomplished in any space, creative or otherwise, is also a control freak. I'm so sorry. And I tell them, I smile and I say, you're not unique. I'm sorry, you're not special. Yeah, you don't have time to train somebody and you're a control freak. Like, look at everybody else who's in here. Right. So I knew what that looked like. And I knew the challenges that I faced because I was drowning and I had no choice. And our tagline is get shit done. So I'm saying it. I don't care. Sorry, LinkedIn people. But that's one of our taglines. It does have the dollar sign, so it's a little less offensive, but the idea is we get shit done. And so I'm like, I know how to do that. And I was burned out and I knew I didn't have an option. So I created what I needed. I took the time and the months to train her and to look at all the things on my systems and in the back end for that systemic support. And then I was able to basically make an SOP, which I didn't even know what an SOP was when I started creating them. Isn't that cute? I'm an artist.
It's adorable.
I know how to make people look so pretty. Yeah, I don't know what are these acronyms, right? KPI year. I don't know. So I started creating all these things. And yes, my assistant actually pulls all of my KPIs, puts it into a spreadsheet, emails it to my business coach, handles everything that my accountant needs every month. So all of it is happening. It's a real business. But I took what I needed and I reverse engineered it and trained people who could deliver it, and then trained artists how to use the support. So I bridged the gap and shortened that learning curve, which most people don't have 3 months in them to train somebody or to like deal with how to get them onboarded. And I was like, let me just shorten everything for you. Um, I remember being in the UK and they have the train and it's mind the gap, mind the gap. And I was sitting there, I was like, this is the gap. It's a huge gap and I've got to mind the gap. And so I was able to close the gap and help people cross a little more safely. And it started with just a small team of like 5 people that I was training to start helping more people in my network with salons. And now we have 40 and growing. We're recruiting every week. Uh, Full-time team members working for us in the Philippines for clients across the United States and Canada, also spreading into interest in the UK. So yeah, and I couldn't have done that in a year. A year ago, I was
In a
doing hair
year,
full time. Yeah, a year ago, I was doing hair full time. Hmm. So
you you have provided livelihoods for 40 plus people.
mhm.
And ballpark figure, how many clients do you have?
I actually don't know. We'll go the 40 range because we have project based and we have people who like kind of rove in and out with projects. So I'm not exactly
Yeah.
sure. Some of those people
Okay.
are in executive positions as well, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about like the impact you have made in real humans' lives in just one
Thank
year
you.
because you found a way to access systemic support and not burn out. And
Yeah.
by investing in that systemic support, not only preventing your burnout, you made this impact on all of these lives. Like that to me is mind blowing and
Thank
just
you.
really speaks to the potential of what can happen when all of our capacities are full. Our time and energy, our systemic support, our cognitive capacity,
Mhm.
relational, right, emotional capacity. When those are full, not only do we uplevel our own lives in the most massive ways, not only do we prevent our own burnout, but we have the potential to make this massive impact on other humans' lives.
Right.
That's
And if
incredible.
it's thank you. Thank you so much. I really didn't mean to start another business. I really meant to help other people in a position like me cross the sea to safety on the other side and part the waters. I had no intention of billing for it. I wasn't trying to think like I just was like, I need to help. People are drowning. And my people, let my people go. They are drowning and they need to be able to do what they love most. And when we talk about like going into who we really are did you call you mentioned the first principle? Is it pretending or what do you call it?
Yeah, performance. Performing as
Performance.
someone you're
Okay.
not. Mhm.
Yeah, performance. And I'm sure not an accountant. I don't need to perform like I love being at my computer, right? And so if we think about the things I really love, I love being with people. I love art. I love making people feel great. I love distilling something that might be hard to understand into something really uh, actionable and relatable. And that's what I love to do in education and when I work with people and consult them. And I'm like, that's what I want to spend my time doing, not in the office dealing with 10 hours of computer work every day, right? But that's
Mhm.
a necessary thing that has to happen to move my business forward so I can have greater impact. So I was doing a lot of performing as everything to everybody, and that's not really true. One thing I'm really, really good at is knowing what I suck at and not trying to be better at it. And so when I was able to stop and delegate a lot of that stuff, I always tell people to delegate to dominate. Don't try to get good at stuff you suck at. Get really, really good at the things you love and outsource the rest. And so teaching people how to identify what those things are, how to figure it out and how to move into that it's just really, really fun for me. And I've got a lot of clients, and I'm not exaggerating, like 3 that I can think of off the top of my head. They're really great at coaching or at concepts or whatever their industry is, and they're not great at social media. They're not great at marketing. And I have 2 people I work with specifically that have said, I've had this idea of whatever it means a product they want to launch, a podcast they want to create, or a book they want to write, or something they want to develop. And they're like, I have been stuck because I didn't have the resources to get there. And now that they have me, or no, not me, it's Spark, because I'm not the one doing it, folks, because I know what I suck at. But now that they have Spark, they're able to, one of them launched a product. She went from concept to fabrication to like having it in hand in a warehouse because she hired us and another person who had a book they wanted to write, a podcast they wanted to launch, and an entire leadership thing that they wanted to develop. And they've been stuck in thought and they were able to move from that into action. And that's so exciting. So I don't know, maybe it's doing yoga. Maybe it's putting your own kids to bed. Maybe it's cooking dinner and not checking your phone, or maybe it's launching an entirely new business. To me, it's less important what that thing looks like, but just going into that and making up enough space so that you can get creative again and find joy again.
And find joy again. I love that.
Mm.
We had an audience member just leave a comment, and I feel silly putting it up because it's tooting my own horn, but I want to recognize Rose in the audience is just an absolutely incredible change maker and leader in the Tucson nonprofit area, and the nonprofit community in Tucson is massive. And Rose is kind of the nurturer who really brings everyone together and makes sure everyone has what they need. And I'm just so grateful that Rose is part of my network. And I know that Rose is someone to me that I look to as, how do you survive an industry like nonprofit where it'll eat you up? Like, it will take everything you are willing to give, right? And I think a lot of industries are that way. And when you can find people who have gone the distance in the industry that you're in, they're the ones that know, like, this is where the boundaries need to be. This is where you need to make sure you're not performing, right? And so I'm grateful to have someone like Rose in my network, and definitely grateful to have you in my network, Heather. So for our audience members who might have not seen our show before, as of, I don't know, 2 weeks ago, I had very dark hair, as I've had for the last, my entire life. And in the last year, I realized, you know what it was? Oh my gosh. It was when I was getting ready for Disrupt HR Seattle. Shout out to Temba, who was our first guest and one of the producers on that event. I was getting ready for it, and I had to be really intentional about planning when I was going to get my roots done at the salon before I went on the plane to get to Seattle to be on stage in front of all the Seattle HR people. And it was a nightmare trying to get it all arranged in the right way. And I had the thought, my TEDx speaking coach said to me, and I will never forget, Elena, don't you dare not have a great performance because you were too busy worrying about how you looked, because the men that are on the stage right before you and right after you, they are not investing that time. And I realized I was expending all this time, energy, and money trying to cover up my gray roots. And so it was a year ago about this time that I decided I need to be more of who I am. I need to stop performing as someone I'm not, because it's taking my time, my energy, my capacity, my money. I need to start embracing who I am. So Heather was instrumental in helping me transition to my fabulous silver, which I love. And we were just remarking, like, everyone has had the same response. It's you.
Yeah.
Like, everyone that I've told, I'm going to go silver this year, they're like, okay, right? But now that you see it, it really is, it's me.
It's so good on you.
fulfilling.
It's so
Thank
cute.
you.
Yeah. I love
Thank
it.
you.
I love it.
I appreciate it. So that is our last, as always, our last question for the day is, at Latitude, we consider joy a burnout prevention strategy, not just an outcome. And right now I am having so much joy really discovering this new me, this Elena Joy 3.0, which it's new in the fact that I am growing who is really me. The authenticity is growing, and it feels so good and joyous. Heather, how are you pursuing joy these days?
I freaking think that's the best wrap-up question on planet Earth. I am pursuing joy by spending more time outside. My joke is that my next business is going to be a landscaping or pool cleaning one. I don't know what. I love being outdoors in any capacity on my bike or hiking, walking my dog, just being even. And so every single day, I take a chance to be outside, and that is absolutely helping me embrace joy and reduce burnout.
More being, less performing.
Yeah,
I love that. Thank you.
it
Thank you.
feels
Well,
good. Thank you.
it does. Well, for our audience, if anything here has piqued your interest about how you can prevent your burnout, increase your systemic support capacity through using a VA, and especially, I love how Spark has made it so easy that, okay, here's how we can help. Let's almost train you on how to use the VA, right? I think so many people need that. And so Spark is perfect for that. There's going to be some benefits that we will be listing, some extra little perks that Heather and Spark are going to give our audience members, and we'll make sure that those links are in the blog post and in the newsletter that's going to go out to our audience and in the comments to this video. Heather, is there anything else you'd like to share with our audience?
No, I just want to thank you for being you and for being a part of my life and helping also be a part of my strategy for increasing joy. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you, everyone, for being with us today. I appreciate you. Be good to yourselves, fam. Have a great day.